This bonus episode is the second part of my conversation with guitarist, singer-songwriter and producer Dean Parker. We continue with a discussion covering session music in the Northeast, his trip to the United States to play in Austin, Texas and in Nashville, the new recording studio in Hexham's Core Music, and his innovative plans for a new album in 2024.
Lay me in the bottle.
So are there sessions around here to be picked up? Do you still do that kind of thing around here?
Totally. I think it's not as flashy. I guess it's not as like in London you have to tell everybody about it, and I'm aware that is exactly what I'm doing right now, but that's sort of on the day to day. People don't ask you how you are; they ask you when's your next gig or who do you play for, which is not healthy. But up here, everybody asks you who you are, and then you find out who they play for, and you're like, "Why didn't you mention this?" And they're like, "Well, I don't need to mention this. It's not about that. It's a job and things like that." So there's sessions happening all around Newcastle. There are tutors here at Core that are doing sessions for some big names, and they're all too nice and polite to ever tell you or name drop that.
That's right.
And building up the studio a little here at Core, we're starting to get people in playing sessions, which is great. It's starting to feel a bit like what I hope, like, I don't know, this is probably a bit far-fetched, but like what Stax felt like or something, where it's just a group of mates and everybody's coming in to play the songs, like Steve Cropper's rolling in or whoever, and then somebody's calling up to like book a day in the studio, and I don't know yet, but that person could be Otis Redding, in however long. That's what it's starting to feel like. It's cool.
It's all about the vibe in the studio, isn't it? Because that's why people went to Sun Studios for so long, because there was that certain sound there, and all the equipment gave it the particular quality of the recording.
Totally. Have you ever been there?
I've never been there. I'd love to. Yeah.
If you ever get the chance, go. Yeah. And it was so refreshing, and it's just the room that they had. There's essentially egg boxes on the ceiling. They've made the ceiling jagged. And that's about it.
Yeah, and these are all things to deaden the sound of the room, aren't they? To make it kind of lifeless rather than reverberating.
That's it. Yeah. But that's all they had, and all those amazing records came out of it. Like, it was about the people and the song, and I just think that's really cool when that happens. I guess it doesn't matter where you record, as long as there's good people there and with good songs. But I think there's something extra special when it isn't in somewhere massive like that, like Springsteen recording Nebraska on like a little 4-track in hotel rooms. And
talking about Sun Studios reminds me that you did a tour of the States, didn't you?
We did, that was
tell us
pretty
about
mad. So took a leap of faith, and I got a credit card or two, if that counts as a leap of faith, and dropped an email over to a guy out in Austin, Texas, who his company do all of the live music for the racetrack that's out there, and there was a Formula One race coming up, and I didn't know this beforehand, but every Formula One race around the world has like a gig or like a festival with it, so they'll have a couple of headline acts. So this year that we went over, the two headlines were Ed Sheeran and Green Day, which was pretty mad. So
just a couple of minor acts.
Well, this is it. Yeah, it's mad. Yeah. Like who they book for these things, and then I think that was 2022, and last year I think it was Queen. I think it's nuts. So I dropped him a message anyways. I was like, I've done this a million times in my life. It's just another one. We'll see what happens. Tell him I'm from Newcastle and stuff, all that stuff. He's like, oh, I'm from Chester Street. I'm like,
who'd have thought?
No way. So I was like, that's cool. And then there's no line here. I think it just gave us a leg up because we're both Geordie.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. And he was like, if you can get here, you can play. So we're like, right. I don't know how we're gonna do this yet, but yeah, we'll get there. Then been lucky enough in the past to make a few friends from Nashville who ended up coming over here. A guy called Drew Dixon, who was touring again in May in the UK. But got in touch with him and said, look, we've got a gig in Austin. I know you're in Nashville, and we've looked it up and we're aware it's 1,500 miles away. But any chance we can get a gig in Nashville? And he was like, yep, let us sort this out. Which he did. So we're like, right, well I guess we're going to both. So what are we gonna do? Well, we're like, oh well, we could fly, and that would be all right. But then I was like, but like, what's the point? It's more expensive to get a car, but why don't we just drive from Austin to Nashville? Because that's what myself and my mates have always wanted to do. I think that's what anybody wants to do. So we're like, why don't we just do it? So I ended up stopping in Memphis as well. We were stopped for food in Arkansas, but yeah, that was a tricky one. So we just kept going. What was amazing though, apart from the music, seeing friends and playing the shows, it was so great to go to these places, and while all the bad stuff we hear about is certainly going on and happening, that didn't represent the entire population. Like driving through Texas and sort of remembering that it's bigger than France. It was like, yeah, everybody in Texas is not who you think they are, you know. It was really refreshing and heartwarming because of all the stuff we hear, which is definitely true because we saw it. But to just meet people and know that there were people out there wanting to help each other, was awesome. That was just something that we were maybe ready to bite our tongues over, but we didn't have to.
No.
Because it wasn't that way. The music, the players were just something else. If you think you're good, go there and just realise that you've got a bit of practice to do.
Yeah, well, it seems true in Nashville, I imagine now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like every bar on the street is full of top class players.
That was it.
Trying to make a living. It's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was pretty mad, but also amazing to walk down a street where the whole point is music. It's yeah, that was just amazing to see, and amazing to hear. Just this cacophony of like country
Yeah.
was mad, but amazing. Yeah.
So when you stood up on the stage in Nashville, what did you think you had to offer the residents?
That's a great question. Not country, I guess.
No, that would be unwise.
That
wouldn't
was so. That was sort of something we thought about a lot. It was like, should we pander? And my mates were like, no, do your own, do what we do.
Mhm.
Whether they love it or hate it. Like if we get bottled, like if we need like a Blues Brothers situation going on, then
Yeah.
so be it. So that's what I felt we had to offer in Nashville. Hopefully something a little different to what they were used to hearing. Ultimately, I gravitate more towards American music, and so I think the songs definitely have maybe, I think it's probably fair to say, a bit of an American thing about it, because I love people like Tom Petty and Jackson Browne and people like that. But yeah, it was sort of like they were hearing what they were used to, but there was something different about it that they couldn't quite put their finger on.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah.
I hope that was the case anyways.
So you mentioned Tom Petty and Jackson Browne. Who are your influences at the moment?
Love Tom Waits.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Waits, just the words and worlds that he creates. It's just something else.
Yeah.
Jack White.
Yeah.
From the White Stripes, just his innovation and sort of unruliness is just it's just great. But once again, it's still about the songs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Then Jeff Buckley as well. Just once again his lyrics, but also that's a big influence on adding those extra chords in when you've got something a little different to say.
Mm-hmm.
And his voice obviously is just absolutely insane. I'd say, they're some of the big ones at the moment.
Yeah.
I gravitate towards people who are, or at least seem like they are, dealing with the world through their musical output.
Yeah.
They can be putting that into fact or fiction, but I still think they're using it as a vehicle to express something. I like to listen to something and then listen to it over and over again and hopefully learn or figure out stuff every single time I listen. The one person I didn't mention on the list is a guy called Jason Isbell. His music is something I turn to when I need it and want it. It's because he definitely has something that he needs to get out. I think.
Yeah.
That contradicts itself. Definitely, I think. No, I'm gonna go with definitely has to get something out, and I think that gives me hope that I can continue to do what I do by going down a similar avenue and using my music as an outlet.
Yeah.
And hoping that others, or even just one other, maybe puts a song of mine on when the need to hear it or something like that.
Yeah.
So I gravitate towards people who do that.
It's clinical to work out how it's all gonna go until the crematory curtain stalls. it's just like it was before. How could anyone ever think to know that this was the hay? That this was the hay. Angel of the slow death, making me think, is this a test, simulation? Someone has to take the brunt, but I might now a figure of my own imagination. Sit and talk America again, thinking of our endangered friends, and I can taste the church and their words refracting in the air as I cling on to pushing on without them. They've hooked and readied themselves to reel in, but I'm a dog with a stare so strong that I can't take away focus from the bird bath. And all that's left to do is sit and laugh. Let me watch your mouth as I lay on your bed. Make auburn-colored tears as I cry through your hair. Pretend that all my worries and my cares, they're like a snare that will fade away. Call it an endeavor, the shaping of a head, the sweat of an existence that's pulled apart and needs a friend, soaked into your linen and stains what once was fresh, but still you stay. Oh, some days I wanna leave you behind, sitting cold in a chamber away from the light. But others I'm glad to have you by my side. Oh, the death of a certain kind of life. Oh, over my soul, yeah, you know I'll ride. On the other end, I'm never war child, but you take me to the harvest star, and you're my running guide. So thank you for the end of that kind of life.
So, with that under your belt, what's in store in the next year or 2 years, do you think, for you?
So over the next year, we've got a couple of things in the works, which I know is what everybody says.
Because it's true for a lot of people.
It
isn't
is, yeah. And myself and all my mates I work with, I've been thinking a lot on just bringing value and attention back to music. Now, I know that people listen to music all the time, but it's all streamed and things like that, which I do that as well all the time.
Yeah.
And then bust out a record every other day, you know. But we're thinking, why is it it's not okay, but why is there sort of this acceptance of the devaluation of music? They kicked up a fuss in America last year about production and writers' rights due to the changes with streaming platforms and things like that.
And AI as well.
That's it, yeah. And I just wonder when we as musicians can do that as well. But sort of aside from that, wanted to see what I could do, and hopefully going to do an exhibition of a new record that I'll have coming out. It's going to be sort of like an album deconstruct. We'll be setting up a space where there's all the stuff that we used for the album, behind the scenes stuff that people are always wondering about, like how much does it actually cost to make something, all this taboo stuff, like who fell out, you know, just everything that really happened and actually happens. And we'll have the record playing on loop throughout the day, and we'll conclude by us playing the record on the evening. I went to Glasgow a couple of weeks back and walking through this art gallery, and people are looking at stuff, but the attention span is just too short. Mine is as well. Whenever there's like a piece of art that is all word based, people read like the first few lines and then that's it. They just can't do it anymore. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. But I want to try, I don't know, even just for a moment, snap people out of it, you know, and hopefully I've got a piece of media there, or or something that could help do that for even a couple of hours on a day. So we've got that coming as well. In short, new record, tour, and more good stuff.
perhaps now is a good time to talk about how you developed the studio at Core.
So, Mike Coleman, who started Core Music with others, said to me that it was always part of his plan, his hope for Hexham to have a small community studio, and that started to happen over like in drips and drabs over the years, but never quite happened fully. And there was a little bit of gear in one room, and then it would be switched to the next, and so on and so on. And then it started being built in the opposite side of the building that we're in now, in a much smaller space, but it was done out really nicely by the guys that started putting that together. And then it was just looking a bit tricky to make it work. Really, it was just a little cramped, and connectivity to other rooms and things like that just wasn't happening. So that sort of petered out a bit. I came back to Core a couple of years back to help out a bit, being asked by Mike, which was really cool. And the conversation just started to come up again. And originally, in the room we're sitting in now, there was a different business. They happened to move, which gave us the opportunity to expand into this final room in Core and start putting a control room together. The live room next door was already being used as a rehearsal space. A few gigs have happened in there, although none of it has started off as being a purpose-built studio. We're using what we have and making it sound good in the process. So now we've got the live room, this control room that we're sat in right now, with all the gadgets, and then like kitchen facilities, loos, and a little chill out space, and it's become this sort of annex almost that people can come in and use to start making records, which is great because whenever Mike pops in, he said to me, "This is what I'd always wanted," and that is just awesome to hear. I think it is easy to get gigs, but I think it's getting harder to determine whether that gig is worth it or not. Now I know that sounds like a bit of a crass comment, because I love playing, and I think everybody should have the opportunity to do it. But I think more than ever, and I may be wrong about this, but there's a lot of people being asked to play for free, and I guess that's okay depending on what it is. But these shows are being sold to young artists on the basis of promotion and what you'll get. I don't know if there's enough people turning up to gigs for that to be a thing yet.
Yeah.
So I think it is easy to get a gig, but a little harder to get the right gig for you. And if that right gig is there, then there's probably going to be a bit of competition as well. That isn't to say that I wouldn't encourage absolutely everybody to play live, because it's just the best feeling ever.
Thanks for listening to the Three Times podcast. You can find Dean's music on Spotify, YouTube, and on his website deanparkermusic.com. He's also on TikTok, Facebook and Instagram, so do give him a follow. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and tell your friends about it.